Hey babes, welcome back to my channel. So today is going to be another DIY video and I'm really excited because I haven't done one for a while. And today's is going to be kind of like a thrift flip type video where you get a bunch of stuff from the thrift store that isn't that cute and you make it really cute by doing DIY stuff on it. And the original way that I got this idea for the video was actually a comment in one of my previous videos about they were asking how to make these sets that this one seller was making and selling them for really expensive, and it looked like it was just from one long, like say a long sleeve, and they cut it in half to make a crop top, and with the extra fabric they made shorts, and they were like cinched in with elastic, and that is what I'm going to be doing today, or attempting to do with my thrift store pieces. And yeah, I got some really cute things and I spent about $40, so I'm really excited to show you guys what I did. And let's get right into it. So here's our first piece that we're going to be working on. I got it for $8 from the thrift store and it was such a cute pink fabric. What I did in the beginning was I had tried it on and I put a pin in the front and around the back with kind of the length that I was thinking I should cut it at. And then I actually cut the front and the back at separate times, which I would recommend looking back on it to just cut them both straight across together, because my result on this one ended up being kinda wonky. My goal was originally to make a skirt out of the bottom piece and a crop top out of the top piece. The bottom piece looked a little bit short for it, but I decided to try and sew in the elastic anyway in it and just to see how it looked. It was way too short, so I had to completely not do that idea and just make a tube top out of the extra fabric. So I decided to just make two tops, one tube top out of the bottom half and the original crop top with the top half. So I'm just going to hand sew the hem down on the top crop top just so it looks a little bit more finished. It ended up looking super nice, but once I tried it on, I was experiencing a little bit of tenting in the fit. So I decided to take the elastic that I was going to use in the skirt and add it to the crop top, which was able to gather it down and kind of get rid of the tenting effect. And that was honestly just because I cut it too short because I was planning for a skirt. If I wasn't, I wouldn't have cut the shirt so short. So I just have the elastic safety pinned to the shirt in kind of this ruffle pattern, and I'm just going to stitch it down on all those places where it's pinned. And then I'm also going to sew it again and just kind of make a little bit smaller ruffles on it, just so the elastic is a little bit more attached to the shirt. So now that I've sewn in the elastic this way, it kind of creates a cute ruffle effect, but it also keeps the shirt nice and cinched down so it doesn't do any tenting, and it actually turned out to be a super cute crop top. Okay, so next is the tube top. I tried it on and just generally pinned where it fit me, so I'm just going to hand sew up the pins here and make it fit me better. I noticed that this fabric worked just so much better with hand sewing versus machine sewing, so that's what I decided to do. And now I'm just going to cut off the excess fabric and sew down kind of the edges. And that is all it took to make the tube top, which I ended up really loving. So this next one is a Adidas zip-up hoodie, and I was super excited to find this at Goodwill because I've been really loving hot pink lately, and I was also looking for brand names, and I thought it would look super duper cute all cropped and cinched like this. So I'm just going to cut straight across and kind of avoid the pockets, which are super ugly actually, so I'm really glad I'm cutting them off on this one. So once I cut it halfway, I'm just going to fold it over to the other side and just use it as a guideline, just since I cut my other one crooked and I want to completely avoid that this time. And then this is just a plastic zipper, so I'm just going to cut straight through it with regular scissors. Alright, so this is our cropped hoodie, and what we're going to do is just kind of sew this zipper under to look finished, and then we are going to also sew all the rest under with a pocket in order to put the elastic in. So this is the elastic that I have that is pre-cut to fit around my waist. We pretty much just need to make a pocket the size or slightly bigger than the elastic in the fabric so we can string it through. So I'm also going to sew the elastic onto one end here, that way it's already attached, and I'm just going to sew the pocket around the elastic, making sure I don't actually sew the elastic. And then once I sew all the way around, I'm just going to stitch the elastic down on the other side. So I am using a sewing machine for this part because it is a lot of sewing, and also it'll just make it look a lot cleaner. And then as I went through, I just made sure to pull the elastic through with me as I was sewing, just that way I was able to pull it out of the end once I was all the way finished and stitch that down. And now as you can see, it has kind of a cinched ruche look to the bottom of the sweatshirt, and it made this otherwise average looking Adidas hoodie super trendy and adorable. So next up is this pastel yellow piece with this super cute kind of knit cording on it, and I got this one for $10. The plan here is to cut this in half to kind of make a crop top and a skirt, and then put elastic into both the waistbands of it, and hopefully we will come out with a super cute pastel set. So I'm just going to fold the bottom of the shirt up to the place where I'm cutting just to get a generally straight line, and then once I get to the middle again, I'm just going to fold it in half and keep cutting all the way across through both layers of fabric. And then now we have our two separate pieces, and I'm hoping that the skirt isn't too short. So luckily I have this nice thin elastic, so I won't have to give up too much of the fabric when I'm making my little pocket for it. And the elastic is again pre-cut to fit right around my waist, so once I string it all the way through, it should get a really nice cinched look. So now I'm just using the elastic as a guideline to pin down my little pocket area so I know how thick I need to fold it over. And then I'm just gonna pull it out and do the same thing on the top. So now I'm just going to use the sewing machine again and just sew right along the edge of the pins that I made, taking out the pins as I go. And then one thing I didn't mention in the last one is you want to make sure you stop sewing at some point where you can feed the elastic into the pocket, so you don't want to completely sew off the whole pocket and close it yet. So as you can see, I left this little opening here, and I'm just going to attach the safety pin to the end of my elastic so I can shimmy it all the way through the fabric. Also make sure you're keeping track of the other end of the elastic, that it doesn't get sucked into it. That way once the other end is out, you can pin them both together, try it on and make sure it's the right amount of elastic for you, and then sew it closed and in place. And I'm just going to cut off these little extra strings here, and that is it for the top. Now moving on to the bottoms, I'm just going to do the same thing as I did with the elastic on the top and just sew along the edge to make that little pocket, and then stringing it through with the safety pin again and sew it closed. So I decided this is a little too short for a skirt, so I decided to try and turn them into shorts because that's about the right length for them. So I did some research, and I pretty much just have to cut out a little section in the crotch and sew it. So what I'm going to do is just kind of fold the skirt in half, or whatever you want to call this, and make sure everything is perfectly lined up to the center. And so once you have everything lined up, you're just going to take your pins, and I'm using safety pins so I can try it on after, and you're just going to kind of pin out this little quarter of a circle shape here. So skipping forward just a little bit here, I tried them on a few times and noticed there was just a bunch of extra fabric in the front, and I learned from a video that you can just lay out one of your other shorts that fits similarly and kind of copy that pattern. So that's what I did here, and it really helped with the extra fabric as far as I could tell with all the pinning in. So I am just going to cut out the little crotch area here and move on to the next step, which is sewing, and hopefully it works out. So I'm just sewing along all the edges here with my shorts inside out, and I'm just going along the pins, and then I'm going to lay out my crotch area flat and just sew straight along it. Alright, so here are the shorts. They are all done and they're inside out right now just so I can show you. I trimmed this off where there was the excess, and then I just did a little stitch along the crotch here. And once we turn them right side out, they are shorts. I am quite proud of myself for making these, by the way. I've never made shorts before. So here is the finished set together. I'm really happy I was able to pull off making shorts out of this because I love it as a set and it just looks so cute and vintage. So next up is this red and black Ralph Lauren zip-up that I found that I thought was super gorgeous, and the fabric was amazing quality. I'm going to be cropping this one. I think it'll look so much more chic and high fashion crop because right now it's just super oversized, but I loved this design, and we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing as we did with the Adidas one and crop it and sew in this elastic. So I'm just going to give myself lots of room on this one since I'm not planning to make any type of bottoms out of the lower half of the fabric. So I'm just going to cut right above the pockets. And then again, I'm just going to use some more heavy duty scissors to cut through the zipper. This one was a metal zipper, but I was able to cut kind of around the metal parts. I'm also just adding a couple stitches at the bottom of the zipper just in case so our zipper doesn't fly off. Now that I've tried it on and confirmed that I want it this length, I'm just going to turn it inside out to pin the pocket for the elastic. So I'm just pinning around the whole thing and making sure both sides line up. And once I'm ready, I'm just going to use red thread to sew the red areas, and I'm going to switch it out to black thread for the black parts. And now that my pocket is made, I'm just going to string it through. And once I sew it off, that is pretty much it. And it was just that easy to transform such an oversized thing into such a chic, cute new piece. So that is it for today's thrift flip video. Shout out to Candace Quintero for suggesting this video to me. I feel like it was a lot of fun for me, and it also kind of furthered my sewing skills and I learned a lot. But once I got the hang of it, it was really easy to just sew that little pocket for the elastic, and everything worked out super well after my first little learning process. But also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and give me any video suggestions. I clearly use them. Love you guys, and I will see you next time.